Welcome everyone. It is 3 p.m. and it's time for the Server Room Show. This is episode 59. This is the second episode in 2021. So we've already done 2 episodes. We started quite strong for this year. The next episode is gonna be already episode 60. I have no idea what I'm gonna talk about for such a landmark number like episode 60. But as always, I'm sure I will be able to come up with something. Hope so. Today I want to talk about something which is not exactly my topic of conversation, because the topic for today is calculators. Calculators everywhere. I mostly mean in their physical sense and mostly on the computers and on our tablets and phones, how far they came. And this whole thing started that I was at work, and you know that I don't know how your colleagues are, but my colleagues always have something new and something shiny and something interesting to show off or accidentally to have on their desks. And it could be sometimes it's just some tools like like a screwdriver kit they just got for work, because they like to take things apart. Sometimes it's some little computing devices or electronic devices. I remember that they showed me just a couple of weeks ago a small thing like it was like a Tamagotchi kind of thing, which is open sourced and everything on GitHub. I will talk about it at some point. Which all it does, it has a little battery backup, and it eating hash keys for Wi-Fi authentications, if I remember correctly. I do going to talk about that little Tamagotchi kind of device. It was very fun to see it with its little interface and everything. But this time it was something more simple. It was a calculator this colleague of mine had at his desk, and I said, "What calculator is that?" Because I've never seen one like that. I'm absolutely not a math person. I have very limited math skills, so most probably my calculator usage is like 5 plus 5 and things like that. I'm very bad with math. But he had this shiny, good-looking calculator on his desk, and he showed me that, this is a brand called NumWorks, because first I didn't even know what it was, because it was not like HP or these other Casio or Texas Instruments calculators you normally see around and you're familiar with. This was quite a handsome calculator for being a calculator. And he showed me a little bit, and he said, "Yeah, it's open source, and you can even 3D print it for yourself. There is parts list, and you could build it for yourself if you want. And it can even do Python and do many things with it." He even showed me an article where someone integrated this NumWorks calculator with a Raspberry Pi Zero, and it's put together the two things, and you can actually boot into Raspberry Pi Zero Raspbian on the screen of this calculator. And I thought that it might be expensive or something, as most of these niche things are, but no, you can order one for yourself around 70 or 80 euros. So it is not expensive absolutely at all. So this is the topic which got inspired by this little calculator. I will mostly talk about calculators like Texas Instruments or HP Prime and this NumWorks one. I focused on the emulated, the ones which you could emulate running on your computer or on your Android phone. I think that they are useful addition to those built-in calculators which normally you get on any operating system, being it Linux or Windows or Mac, you get some kind of normally like basic calculators, but these calculators I'm gonna show, they are way more professional than that. There has to be one remark on this topic, that you should dump your own ROM files or Flash or both files, however it's called, for the given calculator emulator software, because you should do this with the devices you legally own. You should dump those files because you can do that. Therefore, because sharing ROM files and these kind of bits and pieces, unless shared directly from the manufacturer's website, is illegal in most countries. So there's just a remark on that, sharing ROM files and sharing these bits and pieces are most probably illegal in your country as well. So NumWorks was the calculator which started this topic for me, and yeah, I've never seen any like that, and I can show you their website. It's a French company. It's their already second calculator. If you looking at my screen, you can see that they have this bold statement immediately on their website saying that NumWorks, the graphing calculator that makes everybody a math person. Well, definitely not me, but yeah, I understand what they meant probably with this statement. And if you look at my screen, you see that, I mean, at least for me, I think it's a handsome device. I mean, it was definitely the looks which got to my attention, and I checked that what that thing is, and I really like the white color. Maybe I would like it also in black. Black is a handsome color as well. It is approved for exams. It has special exam modes. If your country has SAT or ACT or PCAT exams or AP, these calculators are allowed. They gear towards the high school, high schoolish, so not university, so to say. But I think even for university this could be useful, or maybe then you need to upgrade. So yeah, big thing. I think the biggest selling point is this feature they mention immediately on their site, that you can code in Python. You can immediately, or students immediately can learn Python and math all at the same place. It's very nice. You can put your Python scripts on the calculator and run it from there. As I said, it's exam approved, SAT and ACT exams. It mentions accurate math, fractions, roots, trigonometry. Embedded in your calculator is an advanced math engine that accurately computes most math expressions. Already what I see on the screenshot of on this feature is way more than what I can do. So definitely it's way more clever than me. It can do functions, trace colored graphs using the functions app. You can read function values in the table and retrieve the derivatives. You can calculate probabilities. Computing probabilities has never been easier. Simply fill in the required information and compute. A graphical display helps you visualize your computations. Can do equations, enter equations in whatever form you desire. The app will then compute the discriminant and exact roots of quadratic equations and give exact solutions of linear systems. Calculations, sequences, regressions, can do statistics as well. What I have not seen is this typical, what finance calculators do, these financial calculations they normally do, these interest rates and stuff like that. But I think that as it's open source and you can add extra things also via the Python thing, I think on their community pages or forums or even on GitHub where they discuss this. I think you could add this functionality easily, and then I can imagine this being in someone who works in a bank and has to calculate these financial calculations. This calculator then would be more than sufficient. I think that's my opinion. As I said, it's quite cheap, because I think $70 or €80 is not bad at all. I really like the fact that it's this company is about sharing and transparency, in sense that they provide all their you could build this yourself. Their blueprints and 3D plans are public. These are easily repairable devices. As I said, because the blueprints and the 3D plans are free, you can, anyone can, it's open source, you can build your own 3D printed calculator using some off-the-shelf electronic components, and they even provide hardware plans to do this. It's very nice. So also the software which is running on it, as I said, is on GitHub. You can download and run it, and actually I can show you on my screen that you can download the .js file and the HTML file, these two files, and you can see my screen actually if you are looking at it, that you can use the just like imagine if you have this calculator and you normally have it with you, but you end up being somewhere where you didn't bring it with you. A lot of you are used in those sentences. You could go to their website if you don't have this downloaded, and you can access all the functions of the calculator and do your calculations no matter where you are. There is no limitations. There is no any kind of you see, I can just 9 times 9, 81, yeah, and I immediately feel clever. Function statistics, everything as they mention is there. I think it looks very good, and everything being provided, even the simulator for free. I think it's perfect. Maybe if they would bring out an Android application for so I could put this same calculator on my phone. I don't know if they have. I think I have not seen this application on Android. I could go to the same website and use it from there, but it would be better for the touch and feel to use a proper Android application. Most probably they will have at some point. So this free simulator is also one of its advantages, to be honest. And yeah, this was the calculator which started the whole topic for today. It's good to know that NumWorks is a French calculator manufacturer. They already produced 2 models of their calculators. Both of them are source available graphing calculators, both hardware and software design being under the Creative Commons license. And as I mentioned, their calculators use Python as their programming language rather than these proprietary languages similar to, Texas Instruments. They have this TI Basic and such. So they are really trying to be as open as possible. I think there is no way to be more open than that. And like I said, it's exam approved. These NumWorks calculators has this exam mode which removes all Python programs, resets all apps, and disables certain functions or features. So people can use it on the exam. And yeah, it's my mistake, because I see in my own show notes that they did release mid 2019 an iOS and an Android app which features the same functionality as the physical calculator, except it does not have data persistence. So yeah, my mistake. I should have looked into my own show notes, because it was all there. So after this, I went around and looked, because I remember that I had some HP and Texas Instrument calculators, emulators, better to say, on sitting somewhere on my hard drive. And yeah, surprisingly enough, some of them runs perfectly in Wine, some other one is not, but yeah, no problem. HP has a couple of a lot actually. The HP 300S Plus calculator app works perfectly under Wine. You can see on my screenshot, it is provided by HP, the application. Just like the HP Prime graphing calculator, again provided by HP themselves. I tried both the 64-bit and the 32-bit version of the installer. One from the 32-bit one is from 2018, end of 2018, and the 64-bit version is 2020. And you can see on my screenshot that they both run under Wine perfectly fine. This HP Prime virtual calculator is extremely clever. I mean, you see it has those mentioned finance things also. I would never need a calculator this clever for sure, but hey, sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and some people do need this. And imagine, instead of if you think about it, these emulators are not always just for the free riders. It's for people who say, let me see if this calculator would be sufficient for what I need it for. And with this virtual things, like in this case HP Prime provided by HP, you can take it for a spin, and I'm sure that the people who need these kind of calculators and they find it useful and it does what they want to do with it, I'm sure they will end up purchasing the real device itself, because they will be attached to it. And for the moments when they don't have the calculator with themselves, they can of course use the emulator. But I don't take it that providing an emulator would take sales away from either HP or Texas Instruments or any other company. I think it actually extends, because more people can take it for a spin, like I said, and see if it would be fine for them, and if it does, more than certain they would purchase the device. There is a couple of similarly named emulators in the HP batch. Most of them based on the original Emu48 created by Sebastian Carlier and published under the GPL. There is Emu71, Emu48, Emu48 Plus, and Emu42 and Emu28 emulators. All of these emulates different HP calculators. The Emu48 emulates the HP48, 38G, 39G, 40G, 48SX, 48GX, 49G, and the 48 Plus, Emu48 Plus also does the HP50G Plus, HP50G, sorry. The Emu42 emulates those HP10B, HP14B, HP17B, HP17B2, HP20S, HP21S, HP27S, the 32S2, HP42S, and HP19B2 and 28S. As discussed on the very beginning, all of these needs their own ROM files. So as we said, it's not legal to download or share these ROM files or bits and pieces. So ideally what you have to do is dump those ROM files. There are instructions on these emulator pages how to do so. You dump those ROM files, and after you can of course use the emulators. Emu28 is emulating the HP18C and HP28C, and all of this based on the same source. You can see a screenshot on my screen, EMU28 and EMU42 running under Wine on Linux, emulating the HP28C and the HP28S calculators side by side. Then there is another screenshot, EMU48 running under Wine, emulating an HP49G, again a very clever calculator. Then on the Texas Instruments side, again there is a lot of applications to emulate Texas Instruments calculators. Again, under Wine, for me, Virtual TI app worked perfectly after providing ROM files. Like on the screenshot, you can see that TI-89. You know, it's again these graphing calculators. Another application or emulator called WabitEmu. I couldn't make it work under Wine, no matter what I did with the settings or how I chose the ROM file. And funny enough, that the same files or same setting files, config files, ROM files worked, as you see on the screenshot, perfectly under the Windows version of WabitEmu, emulating, for example, a TI-83 Plus calculator. It's a shame it didn't work under Wine. Perhaps they should pay some more attention to it. I definitely like the LCD screen was more easier to read than the Virtual TI application, even though I tried to tweak the settings a little bit. I wanted to make WabitEmu work under Wine, but yeah, I was not successful. Then there is CMU, which is a third-party TI-84 Plus CE and TI-83 Premium CE calculator emulator focused on developer features. It works natively on Windows, Mac OS, Linux as well. It has great performance and portability. I tried with the TI-84 Plus CE ROM and it works fine as much as I saw. I could not try with the TI-83 Premium CE ROM as I didn't have one of those. It was a strange interface because it showed me the screen and the keyboard part separately, but yeah, hey, it works. And yeah, it is a Linux native application if you want it to be, or Windows or Mac. Tylem is another Texas Instrument emulator. Again, on the screenshot you can see running a TI-83 Plus. Again, native Linux application, and it was in the Fedora repository without a problem. Nicely readable LCD screen on that application. TI Inspire on Linux through the Firebird project. It's the community. Firebird project is the community TI Inspire emulator, originally created by Goplat. It supports the emulation of touchpad, TPAD, CAS, CX, and CXCAS calculators on Android, iOS, Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. Installed under Linux, I was keep getting segmentation faults when I was trying to emulate the TI Inspire calculator, and I did everything as per the instructions. However, the funny was that the Windows release of the same Firebird application under Wine, it worked out of the box, and I had absolutely no problem. I followed the steps how to set it up, and everything was fine. You can see there is the Firebird EMU emulating Texas Instruments Inspire CXCAS calculator. Again, the screen and the keyboards are separated for whatever reason, but it's nice and usable. Notable mentions on Android, mostly for TI emulators and HP emulators. On Android, you can have tons of emulators, which works just fine. For Texas Instruments, again, WabitEmu, once you supply it with the correct ROM files, and figure out the settings, which in my case was regarding the scaling, because there was a piece of setting I had to turn off, otherwise the clicks were not dead center and on point. I had to aim a bit under what I wanted, under the button what I wanted to click on. But the moment I turned this immersive mode option off, I was everything started to work perfectly, and you can see on my screenshot it was running on my phone, Galaxy Note 10 Plus, with and emulating a TI-82 Texas Instruments. It had the perfect feel and everything. I was able to click where I wanted and how I wanted. No special aiming was needed. It was, in my case, this immersive mode I had to turn off. Then you have HP emulators on Android sold directly by HP in the Play Store around 17 and 18 euros. The HP 12C and 12C Platinum and 12C Financial calculators. Then you have those EMU series of ported applications for Android. Again, you have to provide your own files, and then you can have, as you see a screenshot, a 28S in this example, M42 port running on Android, or running an HP40GS, again on Android, running EMU48 port in this case, 42 and 48. If you look around, there are even more, much more emulators for all kind of calculators, not just HP, Texas Instruments, and this NumWorks as mentioned. Most of the conversations and links around how to get these bits and pieces, because some of these historical models are not easily available anymore. You can get them second hand, like the HP 28S and 28C. They are not cheap, and sometimes you can end up with a model which, for example, a function key is broken on it, or it's not working properly, and they are not easily serviceable calculators. So you really have to look at what you purchase, because these devices are delicate, and maybe time was not the kindest to them. That's why many people turns to emulation, and I really like that companies like HP and Texas Instrument also provide enough to run a very clever graphing hardcore calculator on your computer if you want to, because like I said, most probably they also know that if you get familiar and accustomed to their calculator, most probably you will purchase it, because you will want the physical device to be able to take it with yourself in your pocket or in your backpack. So I hope you like this episode. It was a bit interesting choice of topic, but nevertheless it's useful, and calculators are lately and more becoming as clever as computers. No doubt about that. They are very clever machines, and most of us once in a while we need a calculator, and some of these mentioned calculators, they even enjoy certain cult following. So yeah, I think it was a useful episode to make, because we IT and IT people, we also need calculators once in a while. Thank you very much, and see you next Saturday on episode 60 of the Server Room Show.